You ever think that China is just falling apart, but people don't appreciate that it's falling apart? Then you better talk to this guy who said it wasn't all it was cracked up to be years ago. But anyway, China is rolling out its third interest rate cut. That's just since November, amid auto sales that are tumbling, electronic-related item sales that are tumbling, even Chinese electronic sales, which is weird. So it makes you wonder whether this will remain the great global economic agent it has been. Gordon Chang says, really, it never was. Or at least it was a sham. The best-selling author joining me now. So, Gordon, I get worried when I hear China admitting what you said years ago, which makes me think that they're a lot worse off than they even are saying now.
Yes, and we can see this because they've been defending their currency, and they've been doing it in ways that they're sort of not in public view. They're not using open market operations. What they're doing are some lending facilities that we don't really know about. And people have gone back, for instance, from December and totaled up the amount of money that they've spent defending the renminbi. And in February alone, it was somewhere between $56 to $106 billion. In March,
well, why
it was
are they
much
concerned?
worse.
Because that starts getting out of whack. All of a sudden, their trade thing goes kablooey, right?
Yeah, and it's an issue of confidence, because if people understood how much they were spending to defend their currency, I think you'd see even more money coming out of the country. What we have right now is unprecedented capital outflow, and that, of course, is always a bad sign. They cannot explain this away, and we've been seeing their foreign exchange reserves drop. We've been seeing these very large estimates of capital outflow, perhaps $50 billion a month, maybe even more recently. This is a bad sign.
All right, but this was the great society that was getting richer, that was, minting the middle class millions a day. And now all of a sudden that same middle class, I guess, according to believe these figures, they're not buying cars, they're not buying homes, they're not buying much of anything. How does that worry us? Why does that become an issue for us?
It becomes an issue for American companies because they have looked at the China market and made assumptions about consumption increasing at double-digit rates. And what's really happened, though, when you start to go behind the retail sales numbers that Beijing issues, for instance, 12.0% increase in the first quarter, that's not real, because we look at corporate results, surveys, all sorts of data which indicates consumption is pretty stagnant. The best indicator of consumption are imports, and imports in April fell 16.2%. This is important because it shows stagnant demand.
All right. You obviously want to keep folks at home happy. You don't, there was this one company that just gave all their workers a trip to France and all that. I guess that's a big goal. But I'm just wondering, are they desperate? Is the government desperate now?
I think the Chinese central government is starting to get desperate. They're realizing that the slowdown is much sharper than is advertised. I think they've also been deceived by some of the happy talk out of the National Bureau of Statistics, and they didn't realize how bad it is. But now when we're starting to see employment numbers come out, as well as imports and exports tumbling, construction starts were off 18.4% in the first quarter.
Well, what if they need money and they start taking their money out of the U.S. with all the notes and bonds that they own? Is that likely? Or no?
Well, they have been selling treasuries, from all we can tell, from about from July 2011. So they've been reducing their holdings of U.S. treasuries, but it really hasn't affected us because the market for that is wide and deep, and everybody,
someone else comes to the board.
Everyone comes to the board and buys.
Wow. All right, we shall see. Gordon Chang, the coming collapse of China. He was way ahead of this before. Gosh, anyone. Meanwhile, minimum wage protesters, you better beware here. When higher wage obsessed unions start pushing lower wage jobs, you gotta wonder what the motivation could be. Maybe it's a sign of what could be next for you.